Hey, welcome. This is Baseball 101. New series here on YBM. I'm Darin Cissell. Hopefully I can share some of the lessons I've learned over the course of 45 years in baseball and help that process become a little easier for you as you try to navigate through this. I've been doing this a long time. I was a player, high school, played in college, played professionally, and I've coached, 25 years, from everything from 5U all the way up to college. So I spent most of my time at Francis Howell for the last 20 whatever years, and have learned a lot. And hopefully between those experiences and then the experiences of my son just got done, graduated, so he just finished this process of going through youth baseball, and it was a wonderful experience, but there's definitely some challenges that go along with that, and hopefully this show can help you navigate that. I'm going to have some guests on that lend their expertise and their knowledge. First one actually next week will be Jerry Daniels, who is kind of the core of the club baseball world. If you've been around club baseball at all, you've probably heard the name, and he has a lot to share, and hopefully those experiences and kind of where it started, the history, back when he started the prospects in the late 90s all the way through today and kind of what's become, has shifted quite a bit. So just getting the opportunity to talk to him will be wonderful. This episode's a little different. Just going to give you a little overview of kind of who I am and kind of what we did as a family to kind of navigate this process with my son. But just first and foremost, I'm a teacher, been a teacher for 20 years. So I spend my days talking to students, especially student athletes. And really those conversations was kind of the foundations of kind of why I chose to do the club baseball and youth baseball the way I did. And the thing I found from talking to, and it's not just baseball, volleyball or soccer, or softball especially, and then baseball, is by the time kids get to be juniors and seniors, and I'm talking to them about college, typically there's a lot of kids that are like, man, I just don't want to play anymore. I'm tired of playing. I'm burnt out. So hearing that same sentiment from a lot of athletes over the years, I'm like, man, that's the last thing I want to do is rob my son the opportunity to play in college or professionally because he got burnt out at 12U playing 90 games, which if you're playing 90 games at 12U, find a new team, find a new club. Please stop that. We'll get to that later, but no bueno. So some of the things that, besides the burnout is the biggest problem. I mean, that became my why. And I'll encourage you, if you're a player or parent, take some time to think about why you're doing this. Why are you spending every weekend at baseball fields? Why are you spending the money you're spending? Why are you going to practices? Because until you understand why you're doing it, it's tough to make decisions, and it's tough to have clarity in this process. So for me, once it was clear that, hey, I don't want my son to get burnt out, then it became very clear that I need to set boundaries. And those boundaries didn't always align with the boundaries that the club wanted or the coach wanted. But first and foremost, I want to do what's best for my family and then for my son. And we definitely approached it differently. And there's a lot of people that over the years told me, hey, your son's going to fall behind if he doesn't play fall ball. Your son's going to fall behind if he doesn't train over the winter. We didn't do any of that. Like, that wasn't something we were going to do. So when he was young, 5U, he played kind of rec ball all the way up until 5th grade. And there was nothing wrong with it. He played with his friends. He had fun, which to me was the most important thing. If he's having fun playing, he'll keep playing. So around 5th grade, the talent gap got a little bit to where sometimes when he would throw the ball, people were ducking, which is not a good thing. So we had to find a place for him to play with other kids around the same talent level just so he could develop. That's when the tough part started, because you had to find the right club. And honestly, I don't even care about the club. There's 8 billion clubs, and all the clubs, honestly, and I not mean this disrespectfully, they're all the same. They all say the same things. They all do the same things. There's just different people saying the same words in a different way. The thing that matters is finding a coach that's going to take care of your son. If you're a player, find a coach you're comfortable with, because if you don't like the coach, it doesn't matter what club you're with. Find the right coach, and that's one of the topics we're going to have on here. I know I've talked to a couple high school coaches that are going to come on and kind of discuss kind of some of the things to look for in a coach. But for me, the way we did it, we went and subbed with 2 different clubs at the time, and both of them were very similar. The head coaches were people we both really enjoyed and liked. He got along with both teams, and it was wonderful. But the thing that separated it, after one of the games, the assistant coach was down the line yelling at his son. And he was yelling in a way that I'm like, I would never want him talking to my son that way. And that was the last time we were with that team. So we eventually went over to the Gators with Chris Craddock, and Chris was wonderful. Chris treated my son Titus really well, treated our family well, and was very understanding to kind of why I wanted to limit what we were doing. And he worked with us in doing that. But basically in middle school, I said my son could go out of town one time, and he wasn't going to play every weekend, and we were going to limit games. By July 4th, he was done. And Chris said, okay. And that was wonderful. I mean, I had to find a coach that was willing to meet what we needed. And there's a lot of clubs out there that there's enough people, if you want to play, if you figure out what your boundaries are and communicate them before you're on the team, and I'm not saying halfway in the year being like, I don't want to play, but before, and you guys agree to it, then it works out for everyone. And it worked out well. So all through middle school, Ty played with the Gators, and it was great. We got to high school, and obviously things changed a little bit because my son wanted to play in college. So the whole recruiting thing, and that's a whole process that I'm not even going to get started on today. But since my son wanted to play in college, we had to figure out the best route and the best spot for him. And eventually he ended up playing for the Royal Scout team, which they play 8-10 tournaments a year, and that's some of the best players in the area. But again, we didn't do that. We did it a little bit different. I told the Royals at the time my son would be available for 4 weekends, and that's it. 4. Now I know 4 seems like a little. It's because it is. It's not 10. It's not 8. I'm not a math teacher, but I'm pretty sure 4 is half of 8, which means he played about half the amount of games that most kids played after his sophomore and junior year. He only played about 25 games, roughly 100 at-bats. So if you combine that with the high school season where he played 42 games, we went to state those years. So it was 42 games and then roughly 25 games. I mean, that's not a lot of games. He was playing 65, 70 games after his whole sophomore and junior year. And that was fine. I mean, I know some of you are like, well, he fell behind. He didn't fall behind. So essentially, he played 4 tournaments, 25 games, and he eventually, well, this past year, he was drafted. He was the first player drafted out of Missouri, his first high school player drafted. He was actually the first position player drafted out of our conference, I think, ever. So this isn't something it didn't work. At the end of the day, what you need to understand, and this is not a disrespectful statement, genetics play a big part in this. Like, if your son is talented, if you are talented, you're going to get an opportunity to play. If you're a D1 player, in all my years, I've never seen a D1 baseball player, I've never seen a D1 athlete not get an opportunity to play D1. The job of a D1 program is to find D1 players. And if you're a D1 player, they're going to find you. And I know that goes against a lot of people, like you have to go to this showcase or that showcase and spend money here. We never went to a PG Perfect Game showcase, ever. I think you went to one PBR showcase. But that's it. And these are things that I wish more people understood, that you're in charge of the path you choose. You get to choose this path. And if you want to play in college, then there's a path for you. There's a way to do it. But I think club baseball has gotten to the point, it's a business. Their job is to make money, and unfortunately they make money by charging for winter trainings and charging for hit labs and pitching labs and all the other stuff, when how much of that's needed, that's a good question. And that's questions I'll be asking other people that are here. But what I'm confident of, the amount of players that will burn out and not play in college because the club said you needed to play 95 games. I asked one of my students today, I played 95 games last year. Why are you playing that? Why? And it's going to go back to why often. Why are we traveling? Why can't we play local? Why are we paying $10,000? Ask. If a club can't answer those questions, then maybe you shouldn't be listening to them. I mean, I have nothing to lose here. I have no reason to lie to you. I'm telling you, there is a path forward that doesn't consume your family. One of the guests I'm going to have on is a friend of mine that was playing with the club at 10U, 5th grade, whatever 5th grade is, roughly 10U. They played 85 games. I'm going to say it slower, 85 games. In 5th grade, nobody cares about 85 games worth of playing in 5th grade. Go jump on a trampoline or swim in a pool. Go do something fun. Now, the other thing I hear all the time, parents will tell me, well, we're playing fall ball because my son wants to. Just because your son wants to do something doesn't mean you should let them do it. If your son wants candy for dinner every night, I'm guessing you're not going to give it to him. As a parent, and speaking to parents specifically, you're there to set boundaries to keep your son safe, your child safe. Playing 85 games in 5th grade is not safe. If you're thinking long term, like, there's life outside of baseball. This is not life. I love baseball. It's been part of my life for a long time. I was able to play and have a lot of great experiences, meet a lot of great people. But it's only one part of my life, and it will end. It's going to end most people. It'll end in high school. It'll end in college, but it's not worth sacrificing family time. It's not worth sacrificing just allowing a kid to be a kid. I encourage you, if nothing else, just sit and have a conversation as a family and really think about why are we doing this? And then once you figure out the why, you set the boundaries to meet the why, and then communicate that to the clubs that you're talking with. In the club that fits your needs, that's where you need to go. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of things that we're going to go through as we go through the show, and there's a lot of gray area, and there is no set way of doing it. The last thing I want to tell you today, and the one thing I really want you to understand, there's not one path that's right for everyone. There's not one amount of training. There's not one amount of lifting weights. There's not one way to do this. Every single player, every single family needs to figure out what's best for them and go down that path. Because when you do that, if baseball doesn't work out, at least you don't feel like you missed out on most of life because I can't do it this weekend. I have to be at baseball. One of my students today, when I talked to him, I asked him how his summer was. He said, I was at baseball every weekend. It was 9 or 10 weekends of your summer. Why? Most players are going to end up playing within 4 to 5 hours of St. Louis. Why are you going to Atlanta 6 times to play? Why are you going to Alabama? Why are you going? Like, those are the questions that I've never gotten answers from when it comes to, here's the facts. Most people are going to play in this area. So why do you want to go be seen by teams that you're not even going to play for? So there's a lot of things I'm going to challenge, a lot of things I'm going to question, but the one thing I will be very clear about, I'm going to be honest with you. I ain't going to lie to you. Like, this is an opportunity for you to hear a different perspective that most people either haven't lived or haven't done or haven't had the experiences that I've been fortunate enough to have. But I've walked through 5U through 18U baseball. I've walked through with my family, and there are very few regrets and things I would do different. And at no point have I ever looked back and been like, I wish I would have spent another weekend at Pond or Ellisville or BMAC or wherever. Like, but now that my son's gone, he's out in Scottsdale right now playing for the Diamondbacks. I'm thankful that I had those moments in the pool. I'm thankful that I had that time to spend with him that wasn't all about baseball. So hopefully you'll come back next week, hear from Jerry Daniels, and we'll get back to kind of where club started. And so you can at least have a better understanding of, like, the system that you're currently in is not really working the way it was intended. So hopefully have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.